Hi everybody, this is Viking Eric. This video is to talk all about my experiences making and using My Little Pony fursuit for Scootaloo. I'll give you a table of contents here if you want to skip to any particular topic in the video. If you've been to any of the US East Coast pony conventions, Big Apple PonyCon or BronyCon or PhillyCon or TrotCon, and you've seen Scootaloo around, hi, that's me. So you want to wear a fursuit. This whole project started thanks to a friend of mine in the Bronies NYC meetup group local to New York City. That was Alex, who also goes by Christo. He made his own fursuit for the pony Bonbon. I saw him doing that at conventions and got an idea of how it worked, interacting with crowds and with a handler. It looked like a lot of fun, and I wanted to do that myself. And it also happened thanks to the panel Toys to Life that was run at BronyCon 2015. I think it was by either Joshua Mann or Judson Hudson. That panel went over everything involved in making and using a fursuit, and that was really what I needed to know to get started. So what does fursuiting take? Money, of course, is involved. Craftsmanship skills. I'm not the handiest person in the world, but I can usually figure out how to get things done. Physical stamina, of course, is required, and a desire to perform. I think I have all of those, so I thought I was capable of getting in on this. So why Scootaloo? Of course I get asked this a lot. The short version, she's the most underappreciated character in the show who deserves more love. Making a fursuit gets to ask the question, what pony do I want the world to hug? And the answer to that is Scootaloo. My first thought was, of course, Rainbow Dash. I love her attitude, her pride, competitiveness, cockiness. I do all that too and identify with that. And yeah, it was Rainbow Dash that drew me into My Little Pony in the first place. But every piece of advice I saw was saying, don't do Rainbow Dash for your first suit. It takes a lot of extra work to do all the colors. And also, there's already a lot of Rainbow Dash fursuiters around in the fandom. I think she is the most common. It's not surprising that Rainbow Dash fans are the ones who want to show off. So I thought, what's the next best thing to Rainbow Dash? That could be Scootaloo. I could use the surplus of Rainbow Dash suitors to my advantage. Scootaloo could attach herself to Rainbow Dash to follow around. I hadn't seen any other Scootaloos out there, and so I thought I could have fun with her. I know one concern is that I'm tall and I'd make for a pretty big Scootaloo. Yes, Scootaloo is bigger than Big Mac here, but I wasn't going to let that stop me. They say cosplay is for everyone. Do the character you want. Don't let anything like size get in the way, or age or race or gender or whatever. You do what you want to do, and I wanted Scootaloo. Among the Crusaders, I think Sweetie Belle is properly appreciated. She is really cute, and she's got a lot of fans. And I think Apple Bloom is properly less appreciated as a less interesting pony, to be honest. But Scoots, there's a lot going on with the character, and she deserves more love, and I wanted to make that happen. And Scootaloo would be a simple design as far as ponies go, keeping it simpler and more manageable for my first time doing anything like this. It's a single color, the mane and tail are simple shapes, the tail is small and doesn't drag on the ground like for some ponies, the wings would be small and simple and lightweight, so I don't have to worry about any complicated support harnesses or folding mechanisms or anything like that. And it was one less concern not to have to do a cutie mark. The episode Crusaders of the Lost Mark came out while I was working on the suit, and I'm like, oh come on, I wasn't supposed to have to worry about that, and that was one more thing I have to do. And finally, Scootaloo wasn't necessarily a final decision. If Scootaloo wasn't fun enough and didn't work out, I could still learn from the experience and later pick a better pony for another suit. I had some other possibilities in mind. One was Spitfire, or my other favorite Cloud Chaser, or maybe go back to Rainbow Dash after all. I'll talk more later about how Scootaloo worked out. So now I'll talk about making it. I'll answer the most common questions first. Did you make it yourself? Yes, with some help from Alex, but I did 90% of it. How long did it take? About 2 months, mostly on weekends. I actually kept track that it came to about 150 hours of work total, plus more later on for maintenance and improvements. How did you make it? One stitch at a time is the glib answer, but it really is true. You break down everything into simple steps and procedures and then carry them out. How much did it cost? The total came to about $400 worth of materials plus some shipping between the fur, the head shell, the headgear mounting, foam for the hooves, a pair of slippers in the feet, thread, zippers, Velcro, the fan, the belt which holds up the tail, the stuffing which is in the mane and the tail, lots of hot glue sticks, all the pieces for the eyes, and the cutie mark. Some of these can be done cheaper, notably a foam head and a simple handmade cutie mark rather than embroidered, but that's how I did it. The big huge question about getting into a fursuit is whether to make it or look for a commission. I chose to make mine myself. I could afford a commission, I have a good job, but I really didn't want to rely on someone else making it. You never know if you're getting stuck with a maker who's always too busy and doesn't communicate well, or it takes months to get back to you or to finish the project. I wanted the sureness of having the project in my own hands on my own timeline, and I like to put it this way, I wanted the adventure of making it for myself. I'd never sewn anything in my life, but this was a great chance to learn. Fortunately, I had my mom, who spent a weekend teaching me and had a sewing machine to lend me as well. With my mom's help on that, I went from zero experience with a sewing machine to a functional fursuit in about 2 months. Making it yourself means you have full control over all the choices, style and functional. One choice I wanted was short pile for the fur. Some people like the long, thick, furry look, but I don't really like that for ponies. I think it looks kind of messy when it doesn't need to. People think about the heavy, long pile fur like this when they think fursuit, but it doesn't have to be like that at all. Particularly, I think Scootaloo should be sleek and not all shaggy. I was basically going for the look of a big plushie. The fur that I found online and bought, it was described as short pile fur. I found out later the fabric is called velour. The one downside of short fur is that it can't hide the seams. They're always visible, unlike how long fur can cover the seams to look continuous like a real animal would. I was willing to make that trade-off to get the sleek look, and because the velour material had a lot of other upsides. It was cheap, it had a strong backing that doesn't fray or tear, and short fur is just easier to work with because you're not cutting through all that long hair. Although one challenge was that this material doesn't stretch at all. It's like denim in how stiff it is. So it turned out that there wasn't much leeway for error in patterning and fitting the fabric. Another design choice. Some people talk about the way pony legs are jointed with the hock. This is called digitigrade. I didn't try to design my suit that way. Some people are sticklers for the accuracy of that, but I felt the complexity just wasn't necessary. Particularly for Scootaloo, the little filly wouldn't have all the definition in the legs, but rather she should look kind of compact and stubby. For stuff like this, there is no right or wrong answer. If you like the look and it holds together structurally, then by definition, it's not wrong. You have a lot of leeway in how you decide on details like this. There's no fursuit police that's going to come tell you you're doing it wrong. It's all up to you. So a major reason to build a suit yourself is to have exactly the functional features you want in it, along with the design. With my friend Alex, I learned from what he had done with his bonbon suit and what I could do better with mine. The biggest thing that Alex didn't have is these hand ports in the hooves, so I can get my hands out while in the costume. There's a slit in the foam and a zipper mounted in reverse to work from the inside. These hand ports are so important to be able to operate in the suit, so I'm able to do things like get a cup of water or press elevator buttons or use my hotel room key. In fact, I made that zipper go up the entire length of the arm so that the foam hooves are removable to come all the way out. So do the leg hooves, and what that means is my suit is super easy to clean, take out the foam, and it just fits right in the washer. Cold water only and never machine dry, but you can wash most fur this way. And my short fur doesn't need brushing or other care like that, so that makes the project more manageable as well. As for other features on my suit, I attached this long pull tab on the back zipper, which I can reach by myself to get in and out of the costume. The wings attach with Velcro, so I could swap them out if I ever need to, if I ever wanted a different design, or if Scootaloo's wings ever did grow. The other major capability I wanted to be sure of was plenty of room around the groin area so I could easily flex enough to kneel down to kid height. Some fursuits can't really do that, but I wanted to make sure mine could. I also got to choose the kind of head I wanted. There's a number of different methods to make fursuit heads. I decided to use a plastic vacuum-formed head shell. These are made by someone who goes by Adelon the Deer on DeviantArt. He's also made quite a lot of full pony suits on commission. I bought the plain shell and did the rest of it myself. This picture shows it after the first layer of the eyes, and this shows it farther along in the process as I was putting on the fur, then the ears, then the mane. And this is the view of the inside from underneath through the neck hole. You can see the fan in the muzzle here too. The big upside of a plastic head is that there's a lot of room for airflow so you don't die of heat quite so much. The downside is that it's heavy to wear, but I can manage that. This shows the other common method for pony suits, to make the head as a foam base. This is cheaper and might be easier to apply the fur. The big downside is that foam is much hotter to wear all around your face compared to the airflow of the plastic shell. One downside of making a suit yourself is that you'll be keenly aware of whatever flaws it ends up with. That seam in the middle of the face ended up to be quite a bit more visible and noticeable than I had hoped. The glue job for the fur on the ears is also kind of messy. The mane doesn't sit quite right since I didn't know how to pattern that concave shape for it to sit on the head. Also, the hand port zippers are more visible than I'd hoped. And finally, I know the big flaw is how much slack hangs around the bottom half of the suit. That was because I made sure to have room to kneel down easily, but it's also true that I didn't know how to pattern and fit that very well at all, so it came out that way. I found out that the audience doesn't really notice these flaws or just overlooks them, and gradually I've come to worry about it all a lot less. As for the cutie mark, I didn't have it yet the first time I used the suit, which was at PonyCon 2016. Then I added it before BronyCon later that year, which confused some people that thought those were two different Scootaloos, but that was me in the same suit, I just added the mark later. The cutie mark itself is embroidery that I bought from E the Pony on Etsy, great guy and great supplier. That's how I made the suit, so now I'll talk about performing it. It's so much fun. How can you walk into a room, get everybody to smile and hug you, and you don't even have to talk to them? Of course, wear a fursuit. Again, to answer the most common questions first, how do you see? The answer is that the black pupils of the eyes are buckram cloth, which is a fine mesh that allows some see-through vision. As far as fursuits go, ponies are actually pretty good for vision, since the eyes are so big, and Scootaloo in particular as a filly has even bigger eyes. Many other suits, like Disney characters or sports mascots, have the vision through the character's mouth instead. And of course, is it hot? Yes, of course it is. But my suit manages heat better than most, I think. The plastic shell head has decent room for airflow. It basically comes in the wide neck hole and out through the eyes, and the fan inside the muzzle helps with that too. The short pile fur does breathe a little bit, and the foam only comes up to my elbows and knees. It doesn't encase my whole body like in some fursuits. So what I find is that the heat basically tops out. I estimate my suit goes to about 105 degrees or so inside, but not more than that. It levels off. That's hot but bearable. It's not like crazy sweltering. I can usually go about an hour before I need a break for water and to cool down, and all I need to do is cool off is take off the head for a while. Without the head, the whole suit feels only like thick pajamas. So ultimately, the suit is hot but manageable as long as I take care of myself. Every time I put the costume on, I start thinking, dear Lord, what am I doing? I can't breathe. I'm gonna die in here. Why am I doing this? Get me out of this thing. And then when the first little kid comes around the corner and goes, Scootaloo, and runs in for the hug, then I just flip instantly to, oh my God, this is the most fun thing ever. I never want to take this off. It's so much fun. Here's something that the audience never knows. When posing for pictures, I'm always grinning for the camera inside the head. I don't need to, but I just can't help it. Now, it did take a while to get used to performing in the suit. Yes, it is physically challenging. We like to put it like this picture. This is what a convention looks like to you, but this is what it looks like to a fursuiter. The first couple times I used the suit, I was terrified of just being able to walk around without tripping or bumping into things and people, and stairs were the worst thing you could imagine. Fortunately, I had my longtime friend PJ to help me as a handler, to clear space and lead me through crowds, open doors, press elevator buttons. The first few times, whenever he walked away from me for something, I was just like, I'm gonna glue myself to this spot on the wall and not move until he gets back. I was also constantly worried about the suit itself, worried about a seam tearing or an ear coming unglued or something like that. Or of course worried about overheating or dehydrating. But gradually, over several conventions and many hours in the suit, I gained confidence, and now I'm completely comfortable working on my own as much as I want. It's still always good to have a handler by my side to take pictures and to help direct traffic. It can get hectic when there's several kids running around all trying to get in for pictures, but I've got the confidence to do all that myself now. In fact, I even find myself taking charge to direct groups of fursuiters when we're together at conventions. That's one other thing I didn't realize would happen, making friends with a whole new group of people at conventions, other fursuiters. I was actually worried about when I'd start to meet them, that their suits would be better and they might criticize mine that I thought was kind of shabby with all those flaws that I mentioned. But that never turned out to be true. The fursuiters are all friendly, we're totally supportive and welcoming for each other. I never realized I'd be joining a new community of people to hang out with at the conventions, but that totally happened too. So that's all about performing the fursuit in general. Now I'll talk specifically about performing Scootaloo. How did Scootaloo work out? I have to say I hit the jackpot. There is no better character than Scootaloo that I could have picked for what I wanted with the fursuiting experience. I've never once for a second ever wished I did any pony else. Performing Scootaloo is so much fun. The core of it is that she's such a highly interactable character. I never try to talk in character. I can't sound like Scootaloo, of course, so I depend on people starting the interactions and giving me material to work with. Everyone has something to say to Scoots. Everybody will say something that I can react to. They'll say, congrats on the cutie mark, and I get to dance and show it off. Or, you'll fly someday. Or, of course, everybody does the scoot, scoot, scootaloo. Or, is Rainbow Dash really your sister? Or, Best Crusader. Or, not Best Crusader, Sweetie Belle is. which even if it isn't complimentary, it's still material to start off an interaction. I can respond to that with the cringy face cover pose that mascots do. Or of course the chicken jokes. Again, even if I don't want to hear it, it still entertains and interacts with the audience. And all of that happens in such a big way with Scootaloo. There's so much going on with her as a character, by her physical condition, getting picked on for it, brilliant personality anyway, wonderful relationship with Rainbow Dash, adversarial relationship with the mean girls at school. People will talk down to Scootaloo as a kid in a way that doesn't happen with other characters, and that makes Scootaloo so much greater to interact with the audience. I see this with suits of supporting characters like Soren or Brayburn, or even like Derpy or Big Mac. People, kids in particular, just kind of look at them. At background characters they don't know well or that don't interact much, there's just not as much to do with them. But everybody runs right up to hug Scootaloo, and it's so great. You don't get that, like especially with the princesses, people don't run up and tackle hug Celestia or Luna, but everybody knows that's exactly what Scootaloo is for. So if you're considering an MLP fursuit, don't do Scootaloo, that's my thing, but I would highly recommend Sweetie Belle or Apple Bloom, or maybe Babseed or even Spike. I think characters like these can be a lot of fun in how the audience will talk down to you and start up actions and reactions with you. One thing I like doing, I haven't seen other fursuiters do this, but I like it. If someone has an item like a plush or a party cannon or a hat or something, I like to grab it from them so Scootaloo is holding it when they're taking their picture. They're always a little bit confused at first, like, you want to hold that? Okay, I guess. And then they take the picture and then they go, oh wow, nice, Scootaloo is holding my thing. That makes it cool for me. That makes the interaction personalized for them and that much more memorable. And again, Scootaloo is the right character to do things like that. Think of like Trixie or Spitfire or some pony like that with a big ego wouldn't be interested in other people's things. But Scootaloo would do anything like that to try to make herself included, and it fits for the character, and it's fun. And one more thing I need to say on Scootaloo as a character. As we know, Scootaloo is a Pegasus pony, except that her wings are too small and so she can't fly. It's never been quite directly stated in the show's universe that this is a handicap or disability, but she has been adopted as a symbol for that cause. This resonates with me. My youngest brother, Kevin, is severely handicapped with Down syndrome and some other conditions. So for my whole life, I've been around and aware of disability issues. The relationship between my kid brother and me is so much like Scootaloo to Rainbow Dash. He loves to sit and watch me do anything like sports or video games or whatever, even if he knows he can't do anything like that himself. He loves to watch it through his hero, which is me, just like Rainbow Dash is the hero for Scootaloo. I'm not exactly on a mission for disability awareness or anything like that, but if I can reach out to such a person and brighten their day, it warms my heart all over again just as much too. My family often goes to Disney parks, where the costumed characters always show extra love and attention to kids like Kevin, and now I know what it's like to be on the other side and be able to pay some of that back. And so my suit has that much more meaning that it's Scootaloo. Which brings me to convention stories. This is the fun part, but I'll start with the most serious one. This happened at PhillyCon 2016. This is not that picture, this is someone else at a different con, but it sets the idea. I encountered a young girl, looked like maybe age 12 or so, extremely skinny, obviously some kind of physical muscular condition, in a powered wheelchair. I made sure to hold a nice long hug with her, and this is what she said, talking to Scootaloo. She said, "I hope you never fly, so you can be a symbol for people like me." And of course that hit me hard. If that's what being Scootaloo might be about, I'm the right person to understand that. Make sure they're included and brighten their day, and it really warms my heart too. I also met this person, John, at BronyCon, and then later we found each other online and reconnected and made friends about our shared love of the character. The message of Scootaloo is to not let disability define you as a person, but to be awesome in your own way instead, and I'm proud to represent that. Scootaloo may be the pony who can't fly, but she's also the pony with the awesome scooter moves. So from there, now I can tell the fun convention stories. This happened at TrotCon in 2017. The convention hotel also had some other people staying there. There were a number of girls' softball teams for some kind of tournament. I ran across them in the lobby several times. These were girls around ages 12 to 14 or so, the right age to have grown up watching MLP, but kind of aged out of it a bit by now. But what kept happening, and this was hilarious, it was the moms with them who recognized Scootaloo. They had watched My Little Pony with their daughters and knew the
ponies by name. So several times I got one of the softball chaperone moms going, "Come on, girls, let's get a picture with Scootaloo." Of course, the girls were dying of embarrassment, but I wasn't giving them the chance. I jumped right in to line up for the picture every time. I've had that sort of thing happen several times now, suiting in convention venues that had other people around too. And it's fun to be in suit for normies too, as well as bronies. I've realized that other people don't see a creepy old man brony in the suit, they see a cute happy pony character. This has happened quite a few times that I'm in a hotel or a convention center, I see some security guard waving me over, and I'm always like, uh-oh, what did I do wrong? I'm gonna get yelled at. But no, they're waving me over because the security person wants a picture with a cute pony too. Another story, I had one customer. By the way, that's how I think of people who are asking to get pictures. I think of them as customers. She had 4 or 5 kids with her. It took quite a while to get them all lined up for the picture. Afterwards, she hugged me and she felt how hot the costume is. She goes, "Oh, you're so warm in there. I hope they let you out soon. Poor pony." I'm just laughing to myself inside the head at all that. I've noticed people often assume the costume characters are provided and employed by the convention. Well, that's hardly ever the case. We do it ourselves because we want to. Next story, this was from BronyCon 2016. I was walking down a corridor when someone asked for a picture. I obliged, and since he was holding a big Rainbow Dash plush, I grabbed it for the picture. Then I heard someone else say, "Scootaloo with a Rainbow Dash plush. That's so meta. I gotta get a picture." And then a small crowd started forming, all to take pictures of that. I had no idea why there was suddenly such a commotion. I held Rainbow Dash plushes plenty of times before. What was going on here? Then my handler told me afterwards, the person who made that comment and started the commotion was M.A. Larson, along with GM Barrow, writers for the show. So I got pictures from them with my suit, just out of happenstance, and I didn't even know it until after. Next story, at PonyCon 2017, Ingrid Nilsson, the voice of Maud Pie, center in this picture, was at the convention. She's a yoga teacher in real life, and one of her things at the con was to run a yoga panel. So of course I went to that in the suit just to see how it would go. I barely lasted 5 minutes, didn't get a picture. No, you can't really hold yoga poses for very long inside a fursuit. But I'm commenting on this in general, that the fursuit has been a significant part of getting myself into better shape. I work out regularly now, not yoga but strength exercises, which I didn't when I first made the suit, and the physical conditioning really makes for longer time that I can wear it. When I started, I could go maybe an hour before the weight of the costume would catch up to me and my shoulders and back would get sore from supporting the head. But now I've been developing more core strength and I could wear the costume pretty much as long as I ever want now. Next story, this wasn't a convention and doesn't even involve me wearing the suit. I brought Scootaloo to a local meetup with the Bronies NYC group. Afterwards, a few people were going back to my apartment to hang out. This involved a train from a particular subway station, but that was the problem. My friend Lewis worked at that station as a security guard, but he had called out sick to go to the meetup. So if a supervisor saw him going through the station where he worked, he'd be in trouble. But then I realized we had a perfect way to hide him, put on the Scootaloo head. So he's wearing the head, and this is a huge subway station. We have to walk down through like 6 different stairs and escalators to get all the way down to track level, which takes like 10 minutes. And the whole way, this guy wearing a pony head is getting all sorts of laughs and amused reactions from everybody. And finally, we get all the way down into the train, and Lewis finally takes off the head, and he's dripping and pouring in sweat. And I realized we'd never turned on the fan in the head for him. Oops. Couple more stories from TrotCon, which is apparently where the weirdest stuff happens. Someone asked me for a picture, which we did. Then he crouches down behind me and goes, "Okay, now I gotta get a picture of the butt." I'm like, what? But there's still somebody else talking to me, so I'm paying attention to them, still dancing a little bit, like I always do when people are talking to Scootaloo. The first guy behind me goes, "No, hold still, butt picture." Okay, so I do, but man, I don't think I want to know what you wanted that for. I thought Scootaloo was a kid character, would mostly avoid that kind of stuff, but apparently not entirely. And the weirdest story from TrotCon or anywhere. This is late at night, around midnight. I'm walking past the hotel bar, which has a number of regular hotel guests at it. One woman stands up to talk to the pony and asks, "Are you a boy or a girl in there?" Now, when it's not phrased as a yes or no question, I can't really answer it without talking, so I just kind of shrug. She goes, "You don't know? Fine then. It doesn't matter. I have a date." And she storms away. I'm just going to myself, what was her intention? Was she going to dump another date for a guy in a pony suit? If not, why was she asking? I don't know. That one was just weird. And finally, my favorite story of all. This happened at PonyCon 2017. I don't have an actual picture. This is another rave to set the mood. I'm at the rave in suit. It's been a half hour in or so. I hear some cheering and commotion behind me on the dance floor. I turn around and there's a circle of people watching a blonde girl wearing a beanie, putting on some moves. In a split second, I realized that the cheering started from Denny Liu, director of the show. The blonde girl is Ashley Ball, the voice of Rainbow Dash, a guest of honor at the convention. And just as I realized this, the VIP guests of honor had come into the rave. This all happens in a split second. Ashley Ball grabs and hugs Scootaloo, and then the group of VIPs all run out of the room before they start attracting too big a crowd. But for the whole rest of the night, I'm just going to myself inside the head, Rainbow Dash hugged me, Rainbow Dash hugged me, just like Scootaloo would. I really was that giddy that the real Rainbow Dash, Ashley Ball, saw me as Scootaloo, and that one moment made everything I ever put into the suit so worthwhile. And that's all I have to say. Thanks again to Alex Christo Bonbon. Without you, I never even would have thought about anything like this. Big thanks also to my mom, Lorraine, who supplied a sewing machine and taught me how to sew in 2 days. Also thanks to Joshua Mann at Judson Hudson and all the rest of the experts who ran the panels and gave advice on the MLP Fursuiters Facebook group. And to my longtime friend PJ, who has been my handler and gopher and logistics support through all the conventions. Also to Lewis and Jeff and Rye and Raoul Bitgamer and Louie and Michael and David and everyone else from the Bronies NYC group that's ever helped me suit up at Handle for me. Thanks for watching. I'm Viking Eric, and I hope to see you as Scootaloo someday. Bye.